This is Ben Consoli, live from the floor of the Mass Media Expo 2018. This is part 2 of a mega episode celebrating all that is Mass Media Expo, and you're listening to the Go Creative Show. Hey everyone, my name is Ben Consoli. I am a director and owner of BC Media Productions. This is the Go Creative Show, the show dedicated to creative professionals in the video production and filmmaking industries. And we are live from the Mass Media Expo 2018. This is the second episode. So if you haven't heard the first part 1, go there first. And then listen to this one. It'll all make sense, I promise you. Go Creative Show is sponsored by Rule Boston Camera, Buy Rent Create at Rule.com, Hedge.video, the fastest way to back up media, Shutterstock.com, NewsShooter.com, essential news for real-world shooters, and PremiumBeat.com, premium, royalty-free music and sound. Welcome back to the Go Creative Show and our coverage of the Mass Media Expo 2018. Mass Media Expo is New England's largest media convention. It's hosted at the legendary WGBH studios in Boston, and we were there. Matt Russell and I were there right on the floor, interviewing people, talking to panelists and keynote speakers and all sorts of people. But there were so many people we interviewed and so much great information that came from those interviews that we couldn't just shove it all into one episode. We had to have 2. We had to have it. And that's what this episode is all about. And we are so happy that you came back for more. But before we get there, let's talk about Hedge. Hedge is a backup software for filmmakers. It's as simple as that. And you want it to be simple. It's also super fast. And that's kind of what you want in a backup software. You want speed, you want reliability, you want it to just all kind of just happen. You don't want to think about it. You just want it to happen. That's what you get with Hedge. You can import multiple sources and send it to multiple destinations all at the same time. So it's perfect for creating multiple backups of your media right there on set. I use it in my office too, but what I love about it on set is that because I have the Connect app for my phone, which is free, you can get it over at hedge.video, it lets me know when the transfer is done. So I import my sources, I connect my destinations, I press transfer, and I just let it go. And I know when I get that notification that the transfer is done, I know it was done correctly, and I know it was done fast. And it gives me peace of mind, and that's what I need, especially on set. They're constantly updating the app, constantly. So when you have a license with them, you are getting the latest and greatest. They truly are at the bleeding edge of this industry, and they do it so well, and it's all about simplicity. Now, here's what you do. You go to hedge.video/Go Creative Show and get yourself a license. There's all sorts of options there for you. There's a free trial available. You can get project licensing if you only need it for one project, and you can get 20% off the full license when you use the coupon code at checkout, Go Creative Show. Now, here's the big news. They've just created a new program called Canister. Now, Canister takes the simplicity that Hedge is known for and brings it to LTO, right? Hard drives are going to die after a few years. It's just as simple as that. So for a truly long-lasting backup, LTO is the best option. And for anybody that has used LTO, you know that that can be complicated. But not anymore, thanks to Hedge and thanks to the program Canister. And you can also take a look at that over at hedge.video/Canister. So there you go. Hedge.video. Check it out. Get your 20% off the full license. Play around in there, see what they have to offer, and I know you're going to love it. And I know what else you're going to love, the rest of this episode, because we are jam-packed with all the people that you haven't heard from yet from the Mass Media Expo 2018. I'm here with Ian Fox, project manager with the Podcast Garage. And Podcast Garage is actually where we had our 1 millionth download celebration for Go Creative Show. How are you doing?
Success. It was amazing.
It was a huge success.
I think the only time we've had proper lighting in the space.
Well, the lighting was from Ratonica, and those guys are amazing. Ratonica.com. I love them. They gave us a whole bunch of really cool, I think they're called Astera lights or something like that. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, the sort of the upward things on the walls.
They're all wireless, and you can control them by the phone or iPad or whatever. And it was really, it looked awesome.
It was beautiful, beautiful.
Well, the space is really cool, and it's a great place to do a live performance. But tell us, what is Podcast Garage?
Yeah, so the PRX Podcast Garage has been around for about 2 or 3 years, started by PRX, the nonprofit for public radio. So the Podcast Garage has 3 components. There's the education component, there's the community events component, and there's the recording space. So we have 2 or 3 events a week. Those range from a Podcasting 101 class to a 5-week sound design class to show launches like yours, or even just a community storytelling night, or things just for the local Allston community. We're down in Allston on Western Avenue. We're really proud to be a part of the Allston-Brighton community. And so we provide discounts for Allston residents, as well as a membership program that gives you discounts to those events, and then also to the recording space. We have a 4-person recording space that's really good for roundtable discussions. We can patch in Skype and sort of people in other studios. So the idea is we can record for podcasts that are as big as The Daily and as small as, mine, which was, 3 listeners, and should stay that way,
Plug your... Oh, no, if you wanted 3 listeners, then don't plug it.
This will be a beautiful anonymous situation,
Well, I think what's the most important thing for podcasters is that the space itself has really great sound, or lack of sound is probably more like it, because you want it to be quiet. And you guys it's very well insulated. You have really high quality equipment, and it's a great place to podcast. And the price is right. I mean, it's really not bad.
Yeah, we charge $1 a minute for the studio, and if you're a member, it's 25% off that. So it's $60 an hour, and if you just are tracking for a couple minutes, you can literally book by the minute. There's no need to book by the hour, and that's for the recording studio. And then for the actual event space, it's also pretty reasonable. So that's the idea. We're here to eliminate barriers of entry into podcasting. We're here to make sure that the stuff that's being made is better quality, and that we can even just provide advice when we can. So absolutely, that's really our mission is to make sure that other people can have access to this kind of equipment. And I think you're totally right. I mean, even we recorded a remote interview for your show.
Yes, a couple times.
Absolutely, and I think it went really well, and it was good that we could welcome your guests, and they had a professional environment and could kind of come in and out. We have a parking lot; they can just come drive and leave right away. And I think it works pretty well on the other end too.
People loved going to do, because the thing is, I don't live in Boston, and I record from my office, which is in Haverhill. So it's not that easy for me to just jump in my car and go to Boston in the middle of the day.
Totally.
And a lot of times these interviews are done at times that are convenient for our guests. And what's great is they come into Boston, they can go to the Podcast Garage. There's parking, like you said. They walk in. It's professional. It's a really good space to have remote interviews.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we do our best to keep it inviting, to sort of keep it active. We're open 6 days a week. Sunday's the only day we're not open, and so the idea is again, make it convenient for the guest, make it convenient for the podcaster. Be there when they need it. If they need to come in and record at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday or whatever, we're there for them. So we're there for the hobbyists as well as the professionals, and we try to keep it open for everyone.
So now we've talked about creating the podcast, literally being in the room recording it. But what about promotion? I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of people have an idea, they do a show, they love it, but they don't know how to get their podcast out there.
Is the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know when you find the answer.
Do you offer any sort of services to distribute podcasts?
Yeah, so the Garage, through our membership program, we have some visibility opportunities through our newsletter and through our own website, and we also advocate for our own shows. We have members-only events. For example, we had someone from Apple iTunes and the Apple Podcasts team in for an event, and it was
awesome.
Members-only. So that sort of thing that gives a different sort of visibility for your show. And that's through the membership program. But in general, what we do is we're a maker space. We provide you the tools to do it yourself. So we have classes on promotion and on digital strategy, and we have classes on what is an RSS feed and how can I set up a good website, that kind of thing. So the idea is to really empower you with the tools, make sure that all the classes are cheap and they all have scholarship opportunities if someone can't afford it. So the idea is again for you to be able to not only do this now, but teach a man to fish. It's really make it sustainable.
Well, I love it. I think you guys have a really nice product there. I've been a member for a while now, and we certainly want to come back and do another show there.
You're always welcome. Always welcome.
So where can people go to find out more information about the PRX Podcast Garage?
Podcastgarage.org. It's our website. It's that easy.
There you go, podcastgarage.org. And what about you? Do you want people finding you online or no?
Yeah, you can follow me. I guess that works too. I'm on Twitter at Ian N. Fox, IANNFOX. And another sort of plug, we're building a space in Washington, D.C., too. That's where I'm sort of working. So
Awesome.
If you know anyone in D.C., let me know.
Well, I know we have a lot of DC listeners, so guys, check it out, podcastgarage.org. Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you, Ben. You're the man.
So I'm here with Jack Lilburn and David Pietricola from Zero VFX here in Boston. I'm so happy you guys are on. We very rarely have opportunities to talk to visual effects people, and Zero is one of the best in the city, one of the best in the country, let's be honest. And I'd love to just dig right in and find out, what Zero is, explain to the people what you guys do, talk about visual effects a little bit. So thank you so much for being on Go Creative Show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great to be here.
So we'll start with Jack. I know I had heard you talking to Connor earlier. Connor's our producer today, Connor Crosby, that you're in production, on the production side. And I think I'd like to first start there. What is Zero VFX and what is your role in the company?
Sure.
Zero VFX is a comprehensive visual effects and finishing company based out of Boston, Massachusetts. We also have offices in New York and in Los Angeles. And we basically do work on anything from extremely high-end Hollywood feature films to small indie films to national commercials to somewhat regional commercials. And what that really involves is visual effects has sort of changed over the years. One thing we like to talk to people about is that in movies, the original Jurassic Park, there are 80 visual effects shots in that movie. We worked on a really wonderful Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg movie last year called Daddy's Home 2 that had over 300 shots in it. So the nature of visual effects has changed, where every film and TV show and commercial you're seeing has heavy work in it. Now, as a production manager working, at Zero, my primary responsibilities are to ensure that shows come in on time and on budget, and that our team sort of all works together to, deliver the highest quality work possible and ensure that our clients are consistently happy with what we do. One thing we're very proud about at Zero is that we've actually had a lot of really wonderful repeat customers. People like Antoine Fuqua, who did both Equalizer films, Magnificent Seven, Training Day. Peter Berg, who did Mile 22, who did Patriots Day, who is now doing a movie called Wonderland for us. One thing that we pride ourselves on is that we're able to deliver extremely high-end work, but at the same time make the client feel as though they are dealing with a boutique company that is really treating them like they are the absolute most important client that we have.
Why is that important to make them feel like that?
Well, to be honest with you, one of the disadvantages of some of the larger visual effects companies is that they're so large that often they're doing 6 or 7 enormous projects at the same time. And you'll have instances where, Steven Spielberg and Michael Bay are angry about, who's getting what resources. I mean, not literally; they're both delightful people. But the idea is that when you're dealing with a company like Zero, it's all hands on deck all the time, and everybody is the most important.
So that's what the boutique aspect is. It makes people feel like you're the most important client at that time.
Yes.
And that makes people feel good. I mean, I would feel good about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's an added value for sure. David, tell us your role over at Zero VFX.
So my title is 3D generalist. And as part of that, I guess I wear a lot of hats. Somebody at Zero who works in CG, we might be on set capturing data. We might be scanning an asset, say an actor or a house or a prop. And then we're seeing that asset kind of through every step of production. We're taking it from that to the final realized shot at the end of the show. And we're passing it off to somebody in compositing, and they're going to make it look beautiful and finished.
And you're talking about incorporating 3D visuals and effects into other shots?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And we are, the general structure of sort of what we do in my department is we will get the initial frames, the plates, and those plates will be tracked by our team of integration artists. They will figure out exactly where those are on the map, if it's a larger sequence, or they'll just kind of isolate and track one shot and make sure that we have a real 3D space that exists around this two-dimensional image. And then we'll be able to place objects in it. A lot of what makes effects work really well in a film is based around that initial track, making sure that everything sticks and feels integrated as part of the process. I also do a lot of work at Zero in something called rigging, which is nothing in 3D really has body or heft to it. And I will go in and add the skeletal system, the muscle system, the expressions for a character, or maybe how an object is going to fall apart, or how it's going to move around an environment. And a lot of that work when I was in school, I think people thought was that animation was making a character move convincingly. Well, that's great, and that's very useful, but a lot of the work we do is making a lamp fall over convincingly off a desk. And that type of animation is really a valued commodity in our business.
We have a lot of cinematographers on Go Creative Show, and one of the things that they're most prideful of is how many hidden visual effects there are in their projects. This idea that you wouldn't believe it. In that scene we had, that whole background wasn't there, and set extensions and things like that. Like, it's a source of pride to not know that the work that you guys are doing is being done.
Well, it's sort of an interesting thing now. A lot of the projects we've worked on, people don't realize they're looking at a visual effect, and sometimes people will actually see things that are real and think that it's a visual effect in some instances.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the more recent work, and Dave can speak to details here, but I mean, on Equalizer 2, the climax of the film takes place in a coastal town during a hurricane. It's Denzel, sort of shooting it out with the bad guys. When we shot it, it was delightful weather. It was actually really nice out. And our job was to make it look like there is a category whatever hurricane blowing through the town. And I think a lot of the folks who saw that sequence assumed that everything that was happening, all the stuff that was blowing by, plastic crates, trees, were all practical. None of it was real.
Wow.
We even went back in, and my job for about 2 months was to first catalog every type of telephone pole and power pole in Brant Rock, and then to create a system that would, with the assistance of our effects team, put those in their proper locations around the town and make them shake and move as if a gale force hurricane was knocking them around.
Wow. That's incredible. Wow.
And I mean, to the same extent, there's a new project we have coming out called Creed 2, the sequel to the original Creed. Now, we're involved in a few fight sequences in that film, and really, really fun stuff. But it was shot in Philadelphia on a stage. And when you're going to see the film, you're going to think you're in Brooklyn, or you're going to think you're in Moscow. And it's one of these things where it looks like there are tens of thousands of people watching this match, reacting to it. None of them are there.
That is so cool. I love that stuff. Now, because the industry's changed, like you said, the original Jurassic Park, only a handful of shots were visual effects. Because the industry is changing, are you finding that more production companies are relying more on your services and maybe delivering you footage that, not that the footage isn't great, but footage that they know can be fixed? And are you getting stuff that is prepared perfectly for you, or are people a little bit more lax because they know that the work that you can do is pretty remarkable and you can do a lot with a little?
I think it really depends. I think that whenever we're receiving material from a client, it's always shot at the highest possible standard.
Of course.
But then there are the logistics sort of obstacles of making a film and getting, 7 setups done with before the sun sets.
Yeah.
And in some instances where we're like, all right, we're going to have to wing it a little bit here, our VFX supervisor will be like, okay, I can help you with that. We can go ahead, we can paint that out. We could go ahead and put a digital matte painting here. And they're at least aware that there's a solution. So it gives filmmakers more options to see out their vision. But I would say in all instances, the filmmaker is always trying to strive to give us the most workable product possible.
How involved are you in the early stages?
Well, in some instances, we are there in pre-production. On Daddy's Home 2 is the example here. They had a bunch of sequences that were storyboarded out, and they knew what they wanted to do, but they also wanted to see how it would cut together. So we did pre-visualization for them that showed them how those elements would move from shot to shot to make sure that things were contiguous, that everything made sense. And that is actually a lot of fun. I really like pre-visualization. And then there are shows that we come in at the last steps of, and we sort of pick up with the assets that we are handed over. It really varies, but we always love to be on set. We like to be there to ensure that everything is handled as well as possible and to make sure the data is of the highest quality.
Now, we're talking about big, huge films, obviously, right now. But you did say you do work on more local stuff, regional stuff. A lot of our audience are in situations like I am with BC Media Productions. We're doing a lot of non-union work. We're doing commercial work, corporate work. And I think people are afraid to get involved with visual effects because they don't really understand it. They think it's going to be this incredible cost. They think it's going to slow things down. What can you say to people that are, in the Go Creative Show audience, and me too, frankly, about incorporating visual effects and kind of getting started, having visual effects become more and more part of your workflow?
Talk to us. Come on in. We have people who want to talk to you. We want to service that community. And we are actively interested in talking to people about projects like that. We certainly can't, depending upon the production schedule, we can't, help with every single request, but we really want to help. And if nothing else, if you, come in, we can certainly help you find the right direction. And that's something we're actively interested in doing.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on being a client's best friend. So we're in the business of saying yes. So it's one of these things where I think once you get past sort of the initial intimidation factor of visual effects and you see actually what can be done, it's actually extremely exciting because you realize this new sort of toy box you have to play with.
Yeah. So it unlocks a lot of creativity that I think has been stunted because people are afraid to do things on set, or they think it's just not possible. If you can't do it practically, you can't do it. Sometimes comes up.
And the things that people who have not worked with, kind of current visual effects, the things that they might be afraid of as expensive effects, they may not be anymore. It's everything is constantly changing, and there are new tools every day. And we at Zero, we also pride ourselves on being very connected to the tools that are available to us now, because those things save us time, and they help our clients get things faster for less.
I love that. My last question is about collaboration, because I think when we get to the point where we're doing visual effects, making changes, in my impression, is not that easy for you guys. How do you have a working relationship with directors, producers, people that want to have their hands all over these projects, but also they need to be reeled in a little bit because you can't make a million changes sometimes? Talk to me about your working relationship with directors and producers on your projects and how much flexibility you're able to provide.
Yeah, I think it's like I said earlier that we are in the business of saying yes. We've been extremely fortunate with the clients that we've had over the year that they've all had a very concise vision of what they wanted. Now, that may change from time to time. Maybe there's a preview where a producer or a studio decides they want to take something in a different direction, or, the filmmaker does have a right to sometimes change their mind. But the one thing that's sort of interesting is that with all the gear shifts that we dealt with on our projects, one of the nice things about being a smaller, tight-knit community, we're about, right now, our footprint's about how many people? 40?
I think
in
so,
Boston?
yeah. I think it's about that, and it will scale up based on the people that we have, the specialists we have come in from all over the world.
And because we sort of have this sort of community, sort of familial relationship with each other, we all sort of band together, and we've had these instances where we've, in some instances, done 3 months of work in 1 month. We just find a way to make it happen. And that's sort of one of the nice things about being a smaller company. We just find a way.
I love it. Well, you guys do amazing work, and I'm so happy to have you on the show. Where can people go to learn more about Zero VFX?
At zerovfx.com. Come on over, and all our contact information is right there.
Perfect. Zerovfx.com. Thanks, guys, so much, and we'll have to have you back.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So I'm here with Bobbie Carlton from Innovation Women and a whole bunch of other companies too. I haven't seen you in a year, and the last time I saw you was right here at this exact spot 1 year ago.
It's our reunion place.
It is our reunion place, and it's becoming that. The Mass Media Expo is kind of becoming like a little reunion now for production people. It's awesome.
Not a bad reunion spot.
It's not a bad reunion spot. How has your year been? In production, it's been a bit of an explosion here in Boston. Things have been going extremely well, and I'd love to hear how it's been for you.
It has been a bit of an explosion for me as well. So We actually have done our Mass Innovation Nights events. Those are the monthly product launch parties and networking events that we do.
Which are awesome.
Thank you. And we do one of those every single month. Our next one is going to be in Lincoln, out on 128.
You guys get
in
around.
a new office building. So we get to show off somebody's new office building. And we've done them basically every month. Our next event is number 116.
Oh my God.
Yeah, next year we'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary.
Jesus. Well, tell the people what this event is.
So the idea is to use social media to help promote local startups and new products. And we get the crowd out once a month, and we encourage them to blog, tweet, post video and pictures. So in a single night, we can generate a lot of visibility. But it's actually a little bit more than that. It's a free month-long marketing program for startups. And we use a crowd promoting model where we have a whole group of people who say, anything you send me, I trust you, I will retweet, I will repost. And with that model, we generate around 3 million views a month for local startups.
That is incredible. Can you point us to one of, I'm sure, many startups that have kind of come to fruition through your program?
I always tell people it's like picking your favorite kid.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do.
Well, it doesn't have to be your favorite. It could just be somebody that maybe we would know, a larger name or something that...
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody like IBM or Log Me In.
I never heard of either of those.
Well, the thing is, we're a product launch event, not necessarily a company launch event.
I see.
Although, obviously, a free monthly launch event, the startups come in droves.
Of course.
But big companies also come and launch new products with us, too. But we've had just really cool products that have come and launched with us, and they range from software, enterprise software, medical devices, apps. Recently, there was a really cool product. It's a bleisure app.
What is that?
You're like, what is bleisure?
Yes, bleisure.
Bleisure is the leisure part of your business trip.
Okay.
So you're in New York City and you've got 3 hours free. What do you do with those 3 hours? So many choices. So
That's cool.
This says you've got 3 hours free. Here are the things that are around you that are available that give you an authentic experience in that city, whatever that city is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's called Jack and Ferdy.
So now this is the Mass Innovation Nights.
Yes.
But you're also involved in a whole bunch of other things as well. Tell us about Innovation Women.
So Innovation Women is our online self-service speakers bureau specifically for entrepreneurial, technical, and innovative women. The goal is to get more women on stage at conferences and events. And just recently, actually just this week, Bizenov released a study of the last 3 years. They looked at something like 6,000 events and the gender makeup at these events. And on average, 69% of the speakers are male.
Really?
So, just 30% are women. That's quite the imbalance. So we're designed to help create a easy way for event managers to find speakers who aren't all male and all pale. Nothing against the all male and all pale, but it's just we want some equal time.
I know in politics, there's a lot of talk of this year electing a whole bunch of women.
Yes.
A lot more. You hear Year of the Woman. You hear Blue Wave. You hear all of these things in politics. How does that affect the work that you're doing? Is there also as much interest in Innovation Women and having female speakers at events?
Huge interest in getting women speakers on stage at conferences and events because, quite frankly, if you keep fielding the manels, the all-male panels, you're going to get outed on social media. There's actually a Tumblr called Congrats. You have an all-male panel, and they stamp you with a picture of David Hasselhoff, and they put it up. He's giving you the big thumbs up.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. Great Tumblr. But you see multiple pictures a day going onto this Tumblr. And so you're going to be mocked on social media if you keep fielding these same panels. So we have to look for ways to get new voices out there. And often the best place to look are the people who traditionally haven't been on stage. And I know so many incredible women who are doing amazing things with their careers and their businesses, and they just need that opportunity to tell their story.
And you guys are providing them that platform.
Yep. We have event managers who come into the platform and invite the speakers directly. We also have a weekly email that goes out with more than 100 speaking opportunities a week.
So let's say that there's somebody in our audience right now. They're hearing this and they're saying, I want to get involved. I want to get involved in Innovation Women. I am a woman and I have something to say. I have an interesting story to tell. Where can they go to get more information? And potentially
innovationwomen.com.
And that's
super easy.
And that's where to go also to try to become one of these people that are, okay.
Yep, it's totally self-service. All you have to do is go and sign up.
Jesus, that's amazing.
Yep.
It really is amazing. And how are you linking presenters and speakers with events? How does that happen?
So what we're doing is we are promoting the whole thing. We basically go after anybody who is running an event, especially the people that have some issues with gender diversity on stage. And we're saying, hey, we can help you. And they frankly want our help.
Yeah.
You know, they know that they are kind of, running a possible gauntlet in terms of getting people to out them on social media or protests. Sometimes the overly male events find that they're losing sponsors. So before that happens, they want to make sure they're taking steps.
It is weird now when you see a panel or on TV or something, and if it doesn't have diversity, it's weird looking. Like you just notice it now. It's strange. I think it really is a culture shift.
Yep, we are noticing this even more, and we have to take steps to actively change it. And because so many of these industries have fewer women in them, it takes a little bit of effort from the event managers to find women speakers. So they have to make the effort. Often they have to partner with organizations that offer more diversity or look for resources like Innovation Women.
Well, when you have people that are looking to talk about anything creative industry related on a podcast, you know where to send them.
You can actually go in and use Innovation Women. You can search the database and invite women directly. We have a lot of podcasters who use Innovation Women.
That's great.
Journalists are using Innovation Women to get expert sources for their articles. So it's not just speaking at a conference or an event. It's also doing a webinar.
That's fantastic. All things to all people, which is great. And it's over there at innovationwomen.com.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being on. Again, we'll see you next time. Yeah. You are listening to the PremiumBeat.com Song of the Week. It's called River Diamonds by GYOM. Premium Beat is where to go for all of your royalty-free music and sound effects, and they've got huge news, because now, in addition to getting the song, the short versions, the cut downs, the loop sets, you now get stems. This is huge news, people, because when you get stems, you get access to the tracks that make up this song. So you can truly now customize the song to fit your project perfectly. This is a big, big deal, especially for people that do their own audio mixing and do their own music placement within their videos like I do. Having access to stems is huge, and you get all of that for $69 a track. So head over there, premiumbeat.com. Grab yourself some music, play with those stems. You guys are going to love it. So I am here with Steve Bizenov from Media Services. Again, a returning champion. I haven't seen you in a year.
In a year, yes.
Give us a brief overview of what Media Services is, and then we'll dive right in.
Sure. Media Services is a payroll service. We pay the crews and the talent for the producers, as well as we provide many software solutions for the producers as well. We also have a production accounting arm, and we also have a crewing arm. So we keep pretty busy.
So my experience with Media Services is hiring crews in areas that I'm not familiar with. And I've used you guys quite a bit.
Right. That's our CrewStar division that does the crewing.
CrewStar, exactly.
Right.
And have had amazing results from you guys.
Well,
like you've been able to find people in, really remote parts of this world.
Yeah.
In really good stuff. But I'd like to talk more about the other services, because I think
Sure.
just the idea of finding crews in different parts of the world is easy to understand. And yeah,
Right.
go to media services for that, CrewStar. But I'd love to talk about your other services too.
Sure. So payroll services are a big part of what we do. It's something people don't want to deal with, but unfortunately you have to deal with it. And what's happening is technology is taking over. We're going towards the paperless model where you can do your start forms digitally, and all the paperwork that the producers used to complain about can now be done online. They send them out to the crews online. Once they're hired, they send an invitation. Then the paperwork is all sent to them. They can fill it out online, and a lot of it gets pre-populated for them. Then they send it back to the producers for approval, and then it comes to the payroll service, totally electronic. So you're going green, so you're getting a byproduct there,
Yeah.
and making it more efficient. So that's on our TIM platform. Time is money is the name.
Nice.
And then the next step in the payroll portion is the mobile time cards. Once you do TIM and the starts and people are onboarded, then people need to keep track of their time. So the time card information can go out to the crew. Crew can fill out their time on their phones, and that goes back for approval to make sure everybody agrees. And that gets approved digitally and gets sent to us digitally, and then we process the payroll all electronic. Now, we still have clients who don't want to go digital. You can stay paper,
Sure.
but digital is the wave of the future, obviously.
Now, how does this work for smaller production companies that may be only having to pay 20, 30 vendors in a year?
It's really, we have small and large. I will say I have some small guys who don't want to bother learning it, and they just stay on paper or do the semi-digital where they're doing digital PDFs.
Sure.
Which is a little less of a learning curve. But the bigger companies are all moving in that direction, and some people aren't, so that's totally fine. But it's just the new technology is out there so people can make the decision what's more efficient for them.
Now, this may sound like a stupid question, and it may very well be, but a lot of people that are in production don't really have a lot of experience at corporations working for people. They're their own people. They've been freelance their whole career.
Right.
And they may not even understand what payroll means. Like, what does that mean?
Well, that's part of what I do all day is educating people what the rules are. Because a lot of people are also used to paying independent contractor.
Exactly.
There are a lot of laws against that. And it's getting a bigger and bigger issue, and especially different states. If you go to California, there's just a Supreme Court ruling against that. There's no way to do it there. And in most places, if you're on the call sheet, you should be on payroll.
So let's take my company, for example, BC Media Productions.
Yes.
Everything I'm doing is non-union.
Right.
Throughout a year, there might be 60 to 80 people that I pay,
Right.
from actors to camera people to all over the board. How would your services be helpful for me, the payroll services?
If you're subcontracting to a corporation, you're just going to pay them. But if you're hiring people and telling them when to be there and when they're leaving, you need to pay them through payroll, because the laws state if you're in control of them, they need to get paid through payroll. So you need to pay taxes, you need to provide workers' comp, unemployment, all that. Especially if you're bouncing all over the country, you don't want to register in every state.
Yeah.
So our service basically takes care of that. We become the statutory employer for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And then we pay them, we cut the checks. They get hurt, our workers' comp covers them. They file an unemployment claim, we cover it. So that's all taken care of by us. If you go towards union, we deal with that as well, and all the reporting to the unions and all the pension and welfare as well.
How small do you guys go? Like, is it like somebody's paying 5 people a year?
I actually had that question this week from a new client. He does 3 people a project.
Okay.
And we do 3 people, and I do hundreds of people on a crew.
Wow.
So totally, it really doesn't matter.
Wow.
So we can help any type, and also we become a resource. We help educate people so they can make the right decisions. For some people, it might not be the right decision, but it's educating people with the rules so they can never say, I didn't know. As long as they know, then let them make the proper decision.
Gotcha.
So we can find our crew through you. We can pay our crew through you.
Correct.
Any other services that we should be aware of?
Well, then we have all the different software products, such as you have Showbiz Budgeting, which we talked about last year, which is one of our most popular products.
Yeah.
It does budgeting and actualization, which is different than a lot of the other softwares. There's other budgeting softwares out there. Most don't do actualization.
And actualization is?
Is cost tracking. So you go into production, you budget your project, the project gets awarded. Now you need to track your expenses, and it will track it against the budget. So either for yourself or your clients, you can run all the reports or do your tax incentive reporting.
And this is hugely important because more and more ad agencies, other production companies that you partner with are asking for your actualized budget so they can make sure that you're not skimming a little bit from the top. You know what I'm saying?
And it helps you keep track of it. If you're doing tax incentives, you're going to get audited, so you need to provide reporting on that. So it's a nice solution, and it works in all segments of the industry, from commercials, TV, features, video, and so forth. So,
do you do that work as well, or do you just provide the software?
We provide the software. We do refer out to people if people need it, but it's really the software is a tool so you as the producer can do it yourself.
Is it easy?
Yeah, it's very easy. Is there a learning curve like any software? Yes, there is, but we provide a lot of education, videos, webinars, making sure people know the software. We don't charge for support, so that should tell you something, because if it did take a lot of time...
that's amazing.
We obviously would have to, but people call us at the beginning and then they don't need to.
That's a really... That's an interesting point. When people aren't charging for support, it means you very rarely need it. So
exactly.
I think that's smart. It really sounds like you guys are a full-service company, media services, that can almost it kind of helps your production company become legit in a way. And it ties back to what I was saying earlier, is that a lot of people in the production industry are building it on their own, and they don't necessarily know how to do it, quote, the right way.
Right.
And partnering with a company like Media Services can help you get to that point where you know things are being done legally, correctly, quickly, and that you are a legitimate production company.
Correct. We try to educate people so they know to do it. A lot of people start small, do things themselves, and then they get bigger. They want to do it the legal way, and they want to follow the rules and pay their taxes and all that, and we can help them do that. Because a lot of companies gear up for a production, hire a lot of people, but then after they shut down, so they don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And that's what we're providing for all these people.
I think especially when you tie it into tax incentives, there's a major cost savings that you can be taking advantage of, regardless of the cost of your services. There's a savings there potentially for you by doing it correctly.
Exactly. And we actually have resources to help consult, which is part of the payroll service, to make sure people know what they need to do in all the different programs. Obviously, there's a program in Massachusetts, but there's 35 or so more programs around the country, and they're all different. So we need to educate and make sure people are tracking and doing the reporting correctly.
Where can people go to learn more?
They can go to mediaservices.com. And they'll find information on all our different software, as well as our payroll services. And then they're welcome to email me as well at steve@mediaservices.com.
There you go, steve@mediaservices.com. Check it out, guys. I really think you will benefit from the services that they have here to offer. Thank you so much for being on again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's take a moment and talk about Shutterstock.com. Shutterstock.com has over 8 million royalty-free video clips, many of which are in 4K. Over 80,000 clips were added just last week. And it's not just about quantity, guys. It's about quality. That's what you're going to get over at Shutterstock.com. Here's what I do. When I know that I need to have some footage for my projects, sometimes my projects are made entirely of footage from Shutterstock.com. And this is what I do. I go to Shutterstock.com, I click on footage, and right underneath footage is a section called Curated Collections. This is where I go first because these are masterfully curated collections of the best that is on Shutterstock, and it's in a million different categories. I mean, there's just so much stuff here, and they're always adding new categories. Right now I'm looking, actually, this is new even since yesterday. But there's just these cool categories. December's best, if you have kind of a wintry theme video. Love is in the air, perfect for Valentine's Day. We have November picks, October picks, so every month they give you new stuff. Science and peace. Actually, I should be checking that out because I'm working on a video that could use that exact clip right there. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about, but that's okay because I go to Shutterstock.com to find footage that I'm going to put into my projects. Now, we spend a lot of time and money on our projects, and we want to make sure that if we do need to dip into stock footage, it's of the same quality or better. We want it to elevate our piece. And that's what we find at Shutterstock.com. You can save a ton of money if you buy video packs. So if you know you're going to download a bunch of clips, buy a video pack. You're basically pre-buying, but you have a huge savings. You can literally save hundreds and hundreds of dollars by buying video packs. The last time I purchased, I had to get a whole bunch of clips. I ended up saving like almost $500 just from buying the video packs and prepaying for my clips. It's a smart way to go, guys. So check it out, shutterstock.com/footage. Get right to the footage part and look around there. It's a lot of great stuff. I know you're going to love it. Shutterstock.com. So I'm here with Nate McNiff. He's the owner of The Wandering Stage. And this sounds like a really unique concept and something we've certainly never had on the Go Creative Show. So tell us, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How rude of me. What a horrible host to not welcome someone to my home.
I say good day to you, sir.
There you go. Tell us about The Wandering Stage. What is it?
So I've always been a theater guy here in North Shore, Massachusetts. And a lot of the theater companies of the last couple of years, and a lot of the arts companies like poetry, dance, have been having a hard time locking down venues because brick and mortar theaters are charging more for rent because their grants are getting cut.
Yes.
So I've always kind of been a fan of the saying, necessity breeds innovation. I tried to think of how I could flip the script on it, and I came up with The Wandering Stage. It's a 20-foot towable trailer, custom made out of aluminum, and with the push of a button with a hydraulic lift lowers one side of the wall, it becomes a 20 by 8-foot stage or a 20 by 12-foot stage with a simple add-on. The inside of the trailer becomes a backstage area, and then with battery-powered LED lighting and with a sound system that runs off of generators, I can bring a band, I can bring a theater production, poetry, dance, any sort of artistic event all over Massachusetts. And because I'm not generating too much overhead when I'm not using it, I can make it a much more affordable option for nonprofit arts groups.
That is so crazy.
Fascinating. That's a great idea.
It's a literal platform for artists.
Yeah,
it really is.
And
That's
it
really
brings
cool.
theater to places that I think could really use theater, like, towns that have huge, diverse groups of people that don't have brick and mortar theater, so they can't go see a show and sit with their neighbor and see these really important works of art and really foster those discussions that I, as an artist, want people to have. So it also has the benefit of bringing a show to towns like Haverhill and Lynn. And
I'm from Haverhill.
I love Haverhill. That's where actually this thing all kind of got its start. Was I couldn't believe that Haverhill didn't have a place to go see a play. So that's where it all kind of was the breeding ground right there.
That's where my office is.
Oh, that's amazing.
For BC Media Productions. I'm on Wingate Street, the Arts District, which is, it's a great arts district, but there's not a lot of art happening there. I mean, I'm there. There's an architect there, Fishbrook Studios. There's, a couple of stores, a salon. There's certainly artists there.
Right.
But it's a thriving art community that doesn't necessarily have a venue yet. And that is really appealing.
And the people in Haverhill are amazing because they're all young artists. Like if you go to these places like the Tap or the unfortunately closed Chit Chat Lounge, it's all young musicians, young artists, all trying to do their thing,
Played a gig there once upon a time, Chit Chat Lounge.
We all did.
Yeah.
I just noticed that the other day, that it's no longer the Chit Chat. Are you from Haverhill?
I grew up in Newburyport, but a lot of my friends are in Haverhill. I used to do theater, and we all used to go back to Haverhill to have after rehearsal drinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there is no formal playhouse. There was for a while, and it got closed down, and now there's no formal music venue either. But Haverhill also has a really cool film scene with the independent film festival that goes on every year. And there needs to be a bigger presence. That's just one example. There's towns like that up and down all of New England. And the Wandering Stage also has the benefit of, if you have a show that's amazing, it can now go on tour, because it's really hard, because every time you go to a new stage, you have to have a new lighting plot, a new sound design. You might have to change the blocking depending on the size of the stage. If you get a really good, culturally important show, we can now bring it up and down the New England coast, and they never have to change the lighting, never have to change the sound, and the actors never have to learn new blocking.
Wow.
That is fantastic. So how does it work? I'm assuming you must need some sort of clearances or licenses to just open up the stage somewhere. Like, how does it work?
Correct. So basically, whoever was putting on the show, Nonprofit Arts Corporation, they would go ahead and get the what's the word I'm looking for? The
permits.
The permit. Yeah, exactly. And then they'd rent the stage, and I would be able to pull up. And the great thing is a lot of these permits, you have to be out by 11.
Sure.
Especially for musical and town events.
Sure.
that's really hard when you're trying to screw together a stage outside and break down all this lighting. Me, I can push a button and it's literally the stage folds up onto the side of the truck.
Such a cool
I
idea.
need about 45 minutes to go from a full-on production to clearing house within 45 minutes.
Wow. So how does somebody take advantage of your services? What do they do? I'm a producer. I have a show. I want to put it somewhere. I want to use your staging. How does it work?
So yeah, that's a great question. So right now, I'm actually in the fundraising. I'm trying to make the Wandering Stage a reality. I have clients ready to go. Salem State University, some great museums, PBS Museum in Salem, are all very interested. So I'm actually working with a company called Mainvest based out of Salem, Massachusetts, that allows people to invest and actually possibly receive a cutback. So for example, if you invested $100 in the Wandering Stage, that's as low as you can go on mainvest.com. You get a cut of my revenue, and as I make money, you make money. Up to
Fantastic.
a 7% return on investment. So your $100 can turn into $170 over the next 3 or 4 years, or 10,000 can obviously the more you invest, the more money you get back.
Listen to him. Or
That was a big
10,000.
jump.
Or 10, 100 or 10,000.
That's like me trying to get budgets from my clients.
So good.
So you can, I don't know, what's your budget? 25,000. How about 85? Think of
of
what
what we
can
could
happen.
do.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a jump when you put it in,
I love that. Well, that's cool. So this is still, you have the idea, it's yours, you're looking for funding to make this a reality.
Yep, and I have it all designed out with architects, and obviously, I had to make sure it was completely safe, had to make sure that it was completely, also, I wanted to do proof of concept, so I talked to all customers and made sure that I could work within a price range once we were up and running. So this can not only hopefully make myself and some people some money back, but as I said, it's mostly about spreading arts up and down New England and hopefully beyond.
Cool. I love it. It's a great concept, and I really hope this works for you. So where can people go to learn more and hopefully donate that 10 grand?
Yes, exactly. Or, 10 grand, why not 100? Just throw
You should be out on the road helping us get bigger budgets. I like that.
It's as easy as that. Just suggest 100, and they're like, you know what? Good call, sir. So you can go to thewanderingstage.com is my website. I'm also across social media, so I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And mainvest.com, which is also a new entrepreneurial site, is based out of Salem, Mass. If you go to mainvest.com, there's a button for the Wandering Stage right there, and you can read everything from my business plan to my potential customers to concept art. The concept art's really cool.
Yeah, I saw a picture before we started, and it looks really cool.
Yeah. So that's where you can find me. Go to mainvest.com or go to thewanderingstage.com.
I love it. Thewanderingstage.com. Nate, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me. Great talking to you. I'll see you around Haverhill, hopefully.
So I'm here with Irene Wachsler from Wachsler CPA, and we are here once again. You were on 2 years ago. We're here once again talking about film tax and accounting and all the behind-the-scenes work that needs to be done in order to have a successful production company. Let's be honest, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and the thing I've found, when I first started, when the tax credit was first passed, a lot of people didn't know how to do their accounting. And then they got better, and now they're getting worse again.
So
And
let me just stop you for a moment. We're talking about in Boston, there is a tax credit for production.
Right.
And this is similar to other states around the country as well. Of course, we're here in Boston, so we're talking
Correct.
about Boston. But can you just give us a little bit of insight into what does that even mean? So there's
Sure.
a tax credit. What does that mean?
So the tax credit in Boston, or it's actually throughout Massachusetts, if you film 100% or 50% more of your principal photography in Massachusetts, or, you spend 50% or more of your total budget in Massachusetts, then you're eligible for a 25% tax credit. So what does that mean? What does 25% mean? Nobody knows, right? So that means, let's just say, for simple argument's sake, I spent $100,000, right? That means that the state is going to give me a tax credit for 25% of that $100,000 or $25,000. So now I have this certificate that says 25K. What can I do with it? I could do one of three things. One, I can use it against my mass tax liability for this year and up to 5 years. But most people don't have a tax liability of 25K in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So let's just say I owed $1,000 in taxes. Well, actually, let's make it easier because I can't do math in my head easily. So let's say I owed $5,000
You
in
can't,
taxes.
then it's no hope for
No,
anybody if you
right.
can't.
That's why we have computers. It does all the number crunching. So let's just say I have a net of 20,000. I can get a refund from the state, 90% of 20, or the state's going to write me a check for $18,000.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Second thing is I can sell it. I can transfer my certificates so I can put it out there, and there are brokers and there are companies like McDonald's, GE, Shell. They all have tax liability, and they buy these credits because they're saving a few pennies on the dollar for the transaction. And when you have like hundreds of thousands of dollars that you owe, it adds up.
Yeah.
And so I can buy that on the market and sell it, and I'll get anywhere from 80 cents to 95 cents on the dollar, depending upon the size of my credit. And that's cash right in my hand. I don't have to wait to file a tax return. So it's a very attractive feature. And the other feature that the mass tax credit has that a lot of other states don't, like, for example, we do New York as well. In New York, there's no tax credit for above the line or talent. You can't get it that.
Yeah.
So if you bring in someone who says a above the line talent, $1 million, $2 million, whatever, you get 25% on that. I mean, that's huge. So even though other states may offer more, you really need to look at the fine detail and figure out your whole overall planning. And as you know, in Massachusetts, I mean, you like the man who killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot. The scene takes place in the Canadian rugged wilderness, but they shot it in the Berkshires.
Yeah.
Right? You can shoot anywhere. I mean, a long time ago, the proposal was shot in Rockport, and then through VFX, Rockport all of a sudden looked like Sitka, Alaska. And I've been to Sitka, Alaska. There's no way that Sitka could support all that crew. They can't even get a cruise ship into their port, okay? And they have one hotel with 12 beds, so it's just not going to happen.
So if you have a crew over 12, it's not the place to shoot.
No, it's not the place to shoot. It's beautiful, though.
So we're finding that people are bringing their film here, or at least portions of their film here, to take advantage of that credit. And that's great for films. But my question is, what about production companies, people that don't do multi-million-dollar films? Okay. Is there any advantage to tax credits in Massachusetts and in other places in the country as well, that smaller production companies doing non-union commercial work or something like that, stuff that I do with BC Media Productions and a lot of our listeners do, can they take advantage of tax credits the same way?
They can. I have a number of clients who do small production company commercials, both union and non-union. And so within a year, if you spend $50,000 or more on one client, you can get a credit for that. So I have many clients put in credits for, say, 5 or 6 commercials that they've shot over the year.
Yeah.
And the total budget might be $75,000.
Across all of those commercials.
All of those commercials. And you can lump them all in. They have to be the same client, okay? But the rules are very flexible. I have another client that does multimedia. So if you go to the MFA and you're doing some multimedia interaction, 90% odds are that my client did that. And so it's a very flexible. Documentaries, great example. If you spend $50K within a year, documentaries that get shot here, it's eligible.
And it's easy to spend over $50,000 a year on a client, even if you don't have somebody that's reoccurring, just an individual project. So I think a lot of us, myself included, I'm starting to think like, Jesus, I should be taking advantage of this. I think a lot of us here in the Go Creative Show audience may be in places where there are tax credits, certainly in Massachusetts as well. So how do you take advantage of it? What do you do?
Well, you could try to fill out the application yourself, or you could call us. We help you. We have a fixed fee. But we'll put together the application for you. We'll go through everything, make sure everything's clean and sanitized, because the level of detail that Mass Department of Revenue wants is excruciating. So, for example, craft services. You go to Dunkies and you get a coffee, box of Joe, and they want Dunky, they want box of Joe, dozen donuts, and the street address, and the zip code. Don't forget that zip code.
Wow.
I've actually been called when the zip code was missing. They need the zip code. And it better be right, okay? Or if you go and buy some wardrobe, well, see, Sears is gone. So let's say Macy's, right? You just can't say wardrobe. You have to say, I always say like the first 3 or 4 things and et cetera. So let's say you bought shirts, some costume jewelry, a couple of dresses, comma, et cetera. You have to go with that level of detail. And it's interesting. It can be a little complicated, but we're pretty low price. We help production companies out. And now with everything on the cloud, we actually are partnering with some vendors that actually reads the receipts. So we partnered with a vendor that actually, you take a picture of it. It's great. You take a picture of your receipt, and it reads the amount, it reads the vendor's name, and the address. It doesn't read the description yet, but you're 80% there. And its accuracy rate I've tested is about 95%. So automated tools are coming to help you with that process. And the other thing that we just did is we just put our accounting system on the cloud, and we're putting our client systems on the cloud.
Wow.
Right? And that's good for production companies because, as long as you run everything through bank, your credit cards or a bank statement, well, there's rules. It just reads it all for you. And so the work that's needed is getting, less and less. That coupled with the receipt thing for petty cash, I mean, it's not hard to keep track of everything because what I find with small production companies like you guys, you send somebody out and they spend, say, $800 on craft services.
Yeah.
And they come with a petty cash envelope, but they really don't have the receipts, but they spent it because you were there. And you just give them a check. And then you're coming back 6-9 months later and you're like, oh, I don't know what it was for. Right? Well, you're signing on that application full truth. And if you don't know what it's for, you really can't include it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to draw the ire of the DOR that you're applying for something that you don't know, right?
So it's very detail-oriented, and it sounds like people could really benefit from your services over at Wachsler CPA. Can you retroactively take advantage of the tax credit?
Yep, you can go all the way back to 2006.
Oh my God! It looks like I'm gonna get a lot of credits.
Going through their accounting from like 2009, because the credit is the year. Like unlike in New York, where it's the credit's the year that you did the production, here it's the year you apply, and so you can do it.
It sounds like a lot of us, myself included, could take advantage of your services and these great tax credits. I honestly have never taken advantage of it once in my entire career, and that's foolish.
You should. You should. It's money on the table.
It really is. It really is.
Go on vacation. You know what? And if you don't want the money on the table, you can gift it to me. I'll take it.
I like the way you think. Well, Irene, thank you so much for being on Go Creative Show. Where can people go to find out more information about you and your company?
Okay, Wachsler CPA, Millie, Millie CPA, certified pain in the ass, milliecpa.com.
milliecpa.com. And I assume you're doing that because Wachsler is not spelled the way it sounds. So that would be very challenging.
But the other reason is I was in business with my mom, whose name is Millie. Mom has since retired. Mom is on a cruise coming back from Hawaii.
Good for her.
As we speak, good for her. But everybody knows Millie's CPA. And like you said, Wachsler CPA just isn't the same thing. And so therefore we have Millie's CPA.
There you go. Millie CPA, MILLIE CPA.com. Give these people a call. You guys work in New York and Massachusetts.
Yes, we're family owned. We know what we're doing.
And for those of you that are in neither of those states, I'm sure they can probably connect you to people that can be helpful for you as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Irene, for being on Go Creative Show.
Thanks, Ben. Have a great day.
Let's take a moment and talk about Rule Boston Camera over there at Rule.com. Rule is the place to go to purchase and rent all of your production equipment. But you know what? Instead of hearing me yap about it, why don't we hear it directly from the horse's mouth? John Rule himself is on the show, and it's coming up right now. So I'm here with John Rule, the man, the myth, the legend. He's back for his returning interview. I know. I feel like this should be a round of applause. Of course, with Rule Boston Camera, one of our... Really, you guys have been sponsoring the show before. It was even Go Creative Show. You've been here so long. And we really thank you for the support.
The show was entirely my idea, wasn't it?
Was it your show that I just stole?
That's awesome.
Don't put it past me. Well, we're happy to have you on because this year has been really a crazy year in Boston. There's been so much production going on. You guys, of course, with Rule are at the forefront because you're providing a lot of the gear and the services to these crews coming in. How has 2018 been for Boston, for Rule?
It's been really a remarkable year for a number of reasons. One is that we, as you know, we moved into a new space back in February. And, we took a look at all the ways that we could better serve our clients and said, okay, how can we put that into a brick and mortar environment? And we've just built this beautiful place with plenty of checkout space, plenty of parking, plenty of amenities nearby. Just a really nice place to go to work, and it's been awesome. And business has been terrific.
Yeah, the space is really, really cool. First of all,
you.
it just looks so nice in there. Just has such a cool vibe in there, and I think you were able to really pull together all of the things that you offer. It's more than just equipment. You do a lot of events. There's a lot of learning there, and what I always talk about when I do the live reads for you guys is this idea of support for the production companies, because you're not leaving Rule with a piece of equipment that you don't know how to use. It just doesn't happen. The education for us is huge to make sure that we know what we're doing when we leave with this stuff. And that's a huge part of what I think you guys do really well.
Thank you. We do try. And actually, I just heard yesterday from a client who had been traveling around the country, and he said that he had an issue with some piece of equipment from another rental house out in California, and nobody wanted to talk to him. They said, "Oh, you're having a problem? Send me an email, and we'll figure it out." No, we're on a shoot.
I'm on set right now. Yeah, it's terrifying.
I'm not sending you an email. But I mean, we pride ourselves on having a lot of people who work in the industry who also work in our shop.
Yeah.
And when you know what that feeling is like to be out on set and to have people looking at you and having to get things done, you're better able to serve your clients because you know what it's like. There's that empathy is there. So that's just what we try to do, is to understand what it's like for people like you to be out there in production, and you need support, you need help.
You really do. You do need help. Now, it's been a very good year in Boston, that's for sure. And I don't think a lot of people truly understand that the level of films and names that are coming through your door on a daily basis to rent stuff. Can you just give us a little bit of insight into what you guys what films you had partnered with this year that have come through?
I mean, specifically, I don't remember even all the jobs that we've been on. So there's been something like 26 major Hollywood productions that have been rolling through. And 99% of the time, we're not doing the entire production. Most of the time, for anything over a $30 million film, it's going to come from LA. The gear is going to come from LA, and that's lighting and grip and camera gear as well.
Yeah.
But for anything less than that, we're perfectly capable of doing the production. But on any film, whether it's small or large, we'll have something on it. We'll have a C camera or a B camera or a high-speed camera or something like that, because there's always some ad hoc need that these guys have that we can fulfill, and it's great. So it's been so steady, and there's been such a huge volume of stuff this year. It's just been remarkable.
What is going on? Like, what does that say about the state of production in Massachusetts?
A number of things. One of which is that for the first time in a long time, our state government has not even attempted to tinker with the tax credit. So the tax credit, and Hollywood keeps such a close eye on that. It's really remarkable that they know every nuance of what's happening politically in the state of Massachusetts. And so when there was no attempt at all in the last couple of years to change the tax credit, Hollywood feels really good about coming here and taking advantage of that and bringing their work. And at the same time, we've built such an infrastructure, both of physical facilities and equipment and resources, but of people as well. There's a huge amount of crew people here, and it's Boston, New England, Massachusetts people are top quality. We have a really, really great and deep crew here, and producers are starting to feel like, okay, I'm 99% confident I can go into Massachusetts, I can get the job done with some really great people, get some unbelievable locations, top-notch equipment, and at the end of it, I'm going to get this great tax credit, and that's why I'm not shooting in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think the tax credit's making a big difference. I also think we have a lot of locations. We have a lot of looks here. Like Boston can play, and Massachusetts can play for a lot of different places around the country. And, that paired with the crew, paired with just the passion. Like, this is a filmmaking town. You know what I mean? It's like, it kind of is the Hollywood East. I mean, it's a cheesy thing to say, but it really is, because I think there's so much more than films too. There's a large, commercial production entity here. There's a large branded content and ad agency work and small production companies like mine. There is a huge, world around production here in the city.
And I hear that a lot from people who come back from LA or back from New York. And always what they say is that in those places, you're kind of lost among, thousands of ADs and hundreds of thousands of grips. But here in Boston, we have an actual community, and we have events like this one right here where people get together and there's some great networking and this is how we get work. This is how we feel good about our jobs, because we're working with people that we like.
And I feel like the hub of that, honestly, is Rule. And I know,
well done.
Well, you guys have been. I know, you guys have been sponsoring show forever. I get it. Obviously, I would be talking nice about you regardless. But it's like, I really do think that you guys are. It's so much more than a rental house, because you really are. You want to educate people. You want to kind of be the hub. You have events. You do all these things that you don't need to do. It's like, why are you doing these things? I know they're not money makers for you.
Yeah.
It's community building. And I think a major part of why there's so much going on in Boston, I really do think, is because of what you guys have been doing. You've been around forever. And you've been doing these things all along. Rule, Boston Camera, the union of the two of you, and now this new facility. You're very supportive of this community here.
Well, thanks. I mean, I feel that way. I've always felt that way. And, I came into the business as a filmmaker, and so part of being a filmmaker is that you like people and you like working with people, and it's so unique. I mean, especially what you do every day. You work with some core people that you always work with.
Yeah.
But there's always new people coming into your crew, and you're on set all day long, and it's fun and it's challenging and it's an exciting place to work every day. And I just think that's so unique, and so I want to support that as much as possible. You're not in a lab somewhere compounding chemicals. You're doing something really awesome.
Little do you know, he's got this side business.
I know, exactly.
A meth lab.
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show again. And hopefully you'll be on again soon. We don't have to wait a whole year to talk to you.
That sounds perfect. I would love that.
Excellent. Thanks.
All right, Ben. Thanks.
So I'm here with Tim Mangini. He is the Senior Director of Production Technologies here at WGBH, our home for the day here at the Mass Media Expo. Tim, thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome, and welcome. We're glad to have you here. It's a great show.
This studio space, these theaters, really some of the best in the world. I mean, Matt over here has been raving about the sound for the event with your brother, I believe, right?
Yes, my brother's a sound designer, and he won an Oscar for Mad Max, and he recently worked on Blade Runner. So he came a few weeks ago, and he talked about the creative process, and we showed we had a screening of Blade Runner 2049 here. It was pretty great.
My favorite part of that is he didn't talk about plugins or Pro Tools or anything, and that's how he started it. He's like, I'm going to talk about process and thinking and dealing with people in the industry. We got to have him on too. It was great. It was a great talk.
I love that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So what's your role here at WGBH?
So I oversee production and post-production for WGBH, and that manifests itself in a number of ways. It may be sitting in on a mix session or a color grading session and making sure the client is getting exactly what they want. And it might be advising Antiques Roadshow on the cameras they're going to use on their next shoot. It might be figuring out how we're going to do a VR experience for Masterpiece Theater. So really I touch my fingers and toes in a lot of different pools here.
I think it's interesting that the title is Production Technologies and not just production. Because production is becoming more and more technological. There's new ideas and new ways to distribute content and stories. Every few years, there's a new platform.
Yeah, a few years back, we spun up 3 new units all in the same summer. one was for virtual reality, one was for drones, and one was for live social media. And all three of those groups are busy all the time, right?
Wow.
I mean, VR has tailed off a bit, but we just bought 2 brand new drones so that we could service our clients. Antiques Roadshow loves to use them for their opening segments, and we use them for news. And of course, social media, we have a dedicated digital theater, digital studio upstairs for people who want to sit down and do it, but we can also go mobile. So we have we touch on production from very small to very large.
Fantastic. You just said something a moment ago about VR sort of like taking a little bit of a dip, and I'm curious to get more insight on that. Where do you think that's going?
Well, I think that when VR was new and fresh, and it looked like Facebook, Google, et cetera, were investing a lot of money in it, I think all of us in the media content creation space felt like we had to be there, right?
Yeah.
So we all jumped in and did what we thought was appropriate for us. But over time, you have to look at, with any technology, what's the return on that investment, right? How do we make it make sense? VR is incredibly production intensive, right? Particularly on the post side, right?
Yeah.
You can get out there with a relatively inexpensive camera, get decent VR quality picture, but to actually edit it and then stitch it and then get a soundtrack that actually works with it, which is immersive and so on.
Yeah.
Then get graphics that are in the right place and tell your story. It's a totally new way of telling stories, and it's, as I say, production intensive. So the financial models are not there for us. And my own personal view is incredible for museums, incredible for gaming.
Yeah.
There are certain ways, and there are unique stories that are uniquely told that way. So Frontline did a whole series of, I think, 12 VR pieces that are unique ways of telling that story. We can't do that, day in and day out, month in and month out, given that our budgets are designed to reach a wider audience. So right now, it's a targeted thing for WGBH brands. I can see that in other markets, VR is more suitable.
I think people thought that VR was going to be the ultimate in an immersive experience.
Yeah.
And it could very well be. I mean, who knows where it's going? But it feels like it's less about being immersed in the particular product and more about being immersed in the culture around the piece that you're making. Like, it's about making not just one episode of something that's appealing in virtual reality. It's about making a series of episodes that give you a branded feel, something that makes you feel like you're part of it, and something that has other elements to it. Social media components, as well as something online, as well as maybe a document, just a lot of other assets and different platforms to spread out your brand.
Right. I don't know how you think when...
I don't think is what it really is. Speak first, think later. That's the way I do it.
Right.
But yeah, it seems like that is where we're going. I'm curious on your thought. Do you see, now that virtual reality's kind of either slowed down, who knows where it's going,
well,
where do you see things going? Where's the excitement?
Well, to me, what's happening with VR is it's reaching its level, right? It's finding its appropriate places.
Yeah.
And there are those who have plenty of money who can invest in it and can have whole channels of it, great distribution. There are unique experiences for that. A frontline document, a person sitting in front of you telling you a story is not that interesting in virtual reality, right?
You don't need it, yeah.
So now we did a piece on the Ebola crisis when that was really big 5 years ago, whenever that was, 4 years ago. And we immersed you in a actual hospital where patients were being taken care of. It brought the crisis to that audience in a way that a flat 2D image would not have done.
Yep.
So that's where that technology is going. Right now, we, like every media creator, is trying to figure out how best to be in all places at once. It is difficult to assign resources. We are public broadcasting. We're trying to use those generous donation dollars in the smartest possible way. So really, we have really good people who are figuring out how do we best apply ourselves in the social media space? How do we best apply ourselves in broadcast? How do we should we be moving to more of an over-the-top model? It's very clear that the current consumer wants their media whenever they want, wherever they are.
Absolutely.
So, how do you do that? We're constantly testing and constantly getting back metrics. And that's helping us, design how our technology future is going to proceed.
I love that. I love that a lot. And you guys are just at you're producing at such a high level that it really is remarkable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You have been for years. It's nothing new. It's not a groundbreaking statement to say that WGBH produces really great content. But I think for public broadcasting especially, what you guys are putting out there is informative and interesting and really high quality. And I just love the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think that one of the things that we are finding is a big part of our future is partnerships. We're really developing more and more partnerships with other producers around the public television network. We're partnering with other news organizations and science organizations. We really have to pool our resources. And by doing so, we're getting fresh ideas, because really what we are all about is telling stories. And to tell the best stories, you need the widest range of ideas. So that's been one of the real shifts for us. We're doing the same thing technologically. We're developing technology partnerships, and so we're in a variety of different technical spaces as well.
I love that. Where can people go to learn more about you and WGBH and your programming?
Well, of course, WGBH.org is where you can find out about our programming. If you want to know about our unit in particular, production group at WGBH.org. That's the unit of WGBH that I run, which is the WGBH production group. We are two divisions. One is the studios division. We're sitting in the studios division, and we have a large studio, a smaller studio, a number of studio spaces here, all of which can be accessed for your own production. And we have a post-production wing called The Outpost. All of this is on our website, theproductiongroup.wgbh.org.
I love that. This is such a great facility, too, and thank you so much for being on the show.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Well, there you have it. Mass Media Expo 2018 has come and gone. You have heard from the best of the best that were there, sharing their information, sharing their experiences, and I hope you guys learned a lot. I know I sure did. There are so many people to thank, but I have to thank first David Hartman from Mass Production Coalition. If you are not a member of Mass Production Coalition, you're missing out, and you're ill-informed about what's going on here in Massachusetts. Go to massprodcoalition.org, massprodcoalition.org. And of course, you can get to that website on our show notes over at gocreativeshow.com. Of course, you can get to everybody we interviewed today. There's going to be links to all of them over at our show notes at gocreativeshow.com. I want to thank Matt Russell. I want to thank Connor Crosby, our producer for this episode, and of course, our sponsors, Hedge.video, Rule Boston Camera, NewsShooter.com, Shutterstock, and PremiumBeat.com. Support those that support us, and we'll keep pumping out new episodes for you every week. See you next time.